friends, welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to Code Katas episode number 33. Well, we're gonna break things down one step at a time. We're gonna solve these katas, you and I. We're gonna break things down one step at a time. We're gonna solve these katas, you and I. Code wars, code katas, code wars, code katas, code wars, code katas, yeah. Welcome to the show. If you are new to the show, you can visit github.com/codinggarden/code-katas. All the code katas that I solve, I upload here. And all the katas that I solve today will be uploaded here as well. If you're new to Code Wars, this is a website that has coding challenges of varying skill levels where you can practice your coding skills. I don't know, get better at coding. So they range in difficulty from 8Q, which is the easiest, all the way up to 1Q, which is the hardest. We're going to start today with 8Q. Maybe we'll do a 7 and a 6. We're going to keep it pretty easy. And then this evening, we'll maybe solve some harder ones. Let's say hello to everyone. Hello, Jack Skelly. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Christopher. Hello, MV. Hello, Coding Pasta. Thanks for the follow, Narian B Hat. Welcome. Hello, Phil Carbo. Kapow. Hello, Aiden. Hello, Amir. Hello, Simjohn. Infi is saying Twitch uses XHR instead of something like WebSockets to serve content. Really? I mean, if you're watching the network traffic, maybe they have like a fallback for long polling or something like that, but very interesting. Hello, Manus Paul. Welcome. Hello, Phil Carbo. Hello, Mattia. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Narian Bihat. Welcome. This is going to be fun. So I actually don't have my katas picked out, so we're going to pick them out. And hello, Tanis. Welcome. So yeah, we're going to start with 8Q, which is the easiest. We're going to get a little warmed up, and then we'll go from there. Let's see. We're going to choose katas that I have not trained on. And we're going to sort by most completed. Hello, Boyan. Welcome. Matthias says, I hate when YouTube volume bugs out, so moving the cursor changes the volume. That happens, yeah, if the volume slider has focus. Hello, Lunatic Hacker. Welcome. Hello, Michael. Hello, William. Welcome, everyone. Okay. Well, let's look at this one. Convert Boolean values to strings, yes or no? So, complete the method that takes a Boolean value and returns a yes string for true and a no string for false. That's pretty easy, but there's probably a lot of different ways we can solve it. Let's look at some others. Grasshopper summation. Write a program that finds the summation of every number from 1 to number. The number will always be a positive integer greater than 0. Cool. So your function summation is called with the number, and then you need to add all the numbers up to that number. Cool. Let's see. Reversed strings. Complete the solution so that it reverses the string value passed into it. So you're given world and you need to return DLROW. Also seems very doable. Okay. And then let's look at square of in of sum. Complete the square sum function so that it squares each number passed into it and then sums the results together. For example, 122 should return 9 because 1 squared plus 2 squared plus 2 squared is 9. Interesting. So you take each number and square it and sum it all together. Okay, we're going to vote on which one we're going to do out of these 4. Here we go. Which 8Q should I do? And these are all fairly simple, but like I said, we can solve them in a lot of different ways. We can kind of break them down and talk about the many different ways to solve them, so that should be fun. So square sum is that one. Then we have reverse a string. So reverse a string is fun because we could use built-in methods, or we could actually manually reverse it ourselves, which I always think is fun, and I think every programmer should know how to do, so that'll be a fun one. Reverse a string. What else? Oh my goodness, it's Baskin's birthday. Happy birthday, Baskin. I'll sing you happy birthday in a second. Grasshopper summation. So this is, you're given a number and you have to sum up all the numbers up to that number. So that'll be interesting. Grasshopper summation. And can everyone please tell Baskin happy birthday in the chat? Happy birthday! Yeah, that's so great. And this one is convert Boolean values to strings, yes or no. So we'll say Boolean to string. There's that. Improve spam prevention, create the poll. Here we go. So you can go here and vote for which 8Q I should do. There's that one. And there's that one. I didn't mention it, but if you do have suggestions for katas for me to solve, you can go to this GitHub repo and submit an issue. Right now, all the open issues are for very hard katas, so that's why we're voting on and choosing some easier ones. But we might try this one this afternoon. Evaluating mathematical expressions. We're basically building like a equation parser. Cool. So go to that URL. Please vote now. And we'll see what happens. Kevin is asking, have you ever done a coding challenge in a different programming language? No, but I'm considering it, and I almost did it today. But I think this Wednesday slot where I do coding problems is where I'll potentially learn a new language and solve coding problems with them. And I think I might do Go. And on Code Wars, I believe you can use Go. Yeah, you can use Go. So not today. We're going to keep doing JavaScript today, but yes, it would be fun to watch me learn a new language, so we're going to do that. Interesting. Yeah, Infi is seeing XHR requests on Twitch. Hello, Coda Probe. Welcome. Good morning, Brandon. Welcome. Yeah, so if we do the yes-no one, it would be fun to explore like ternaries, regular if statements. We could solve it like a really weird way with an object, but yeah, we'll see. Hello, Bagan. Welcome. Hello, Baskin. Happy birthday. Awesome. Amir is asking, have you ever tried building a component library using Vue? I have, and I believe there's a starter kit that can help you with that, so I'll save that one. Happy birthday, Baskin. Happy birthday. Well, you pointed out that it was your birthday, but still, happy birthday. Yeah, Kevin is saying, I recently had to reverse a string without using the built-in array methods in JavaScript. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know how to do that if you're fairly new to JavaScript and you only learned about like array methods, or not array methods, but just methods in general. Okay, Motivation is saying, the reason I asked about 12 Days of Christmas problem is because I'm doing something similar on Exorcism. Yeah, so I've gotten some suggestions about Exorcism, and I think I might start doing Exorcism as well. It's actually really cool because it's test driven, and you can bring the exercises down to your local machine and run them, and then you can submit your code up, and they have a system for getting feedback on your solutions and stuff like that. So Exorcism is really cool. This is also something that I'm considering, but yeah. Let's go. Hello, Raphael. Welcome. Happy birthday. Hello, Gene. Yeah, unfortunately, with straw poll, you can't change your answer. It looks like reverse a string is winning, though. So I'll send the poll again. For those of you that are just joining us, you can visit this URL and vote on which one I should solve. And in a moment, we're going to sing happy birthday to Baskin. Cool. Drink coffee and lurk while learning JavaScript. There you go. That's a good way to spend your morning. Hello, Julian. Welcome. Oh, and Julian is a heavy Code Wars user. So if you look at the Code Wars Coding Garden clan, Julian is all the way at the top with 13,000 honor. He's a serious code kata-er. I only have 1,500. Welcome, Julian. Please try Rust on Friday. Maybe. I think I'll do morning tea on Friday. And yeah, maybe I do a code challenge with Rust. I want to do Go, though. I want to learn Go. Yeah. NGN says, hello, can you explain what's different between module.exports and exports in Node.js? Potentially. So it's a little bit off topic, but if we have some time afterwards, I can try to explain it. Hello, Edgar. Welcome. I like Exorcism, but the npmi for every exercise is annoying. It is. Yeah, I was looking at that because you kind of have to install a CLI tool. I can show you how to get set up with just cloning a Git repo versus using the CLI tool. But at the same time, if you do that, you don't get the features of like uploading your code and stuff like that. So yeah. Hello, Lampros. Welcome. Have I ever seen the fun function video where he made the world's most complicated Hello World React component? Yes, I have. Well, it was more about how to make the most convoluted Hello World program. And he was like, of course, the first step is to create a React app. And then he installed like a localization package. I don't know. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Well, happy birthday to Baskin. Happy birthday to you. So that was a little out of key, but happy birthday, Baskin. Thank you so much. I just woke up. My vocal cords are weak. Hello, yes sir. Welcome. Thank you. Okay, let's see how the poll is looking. Results. Yeah, looks like reverse a string. I mean, it's only winning by 2 votes, but I think we'll do it because this is a very, very common, potentially an interview question, just something that you should know how to do like in every programming language. Cool. So we're going to do reverse a string. Cool. So typically what I like to do is just to create a file locally where I can run my code. You can, if you're new to Code Wars, you absolutely can just write your code in here and then click run sample tests. But I prefer to do it locally because you can see my code. It's a whole lot bigger. New file, this.js. You can see I'm using a new theme again. So there's this theme called Seti Black, which is like Seti Monokai, which is the theme that I was using, but most the backgrounds and different things like that are black instead. Oh yeah, this is an issue. I feel like this window isn't working. Okay, we're gonna switch themes. We're going back to a different theme. Theme, color theme, Seti Monokai. Okay. There we go. And then we'll have our one test right here, and we'll just do a console.log. And I will start up this thing called Quaka.js. It's super cool. It runs inside of your editor, and it actually runs your code. So right now, this says, call the function solution, pass in world, and that return value should equal this. And right now it doesn't, so we're seeing false. If we also just log both, we can see that our function is currently returning undefined, and we need it to return that. So we're going to do it. Let's catch up on the chat, and then we'll get started. Yes. Am I a full-time YouTuber? No, I still have a day job, and which is why I'm streaming so early, because I have to go into work in about an hour or so. Yeah, definitely an interview question, absolutely. Yes, happy birthday, Baskin. Shankar says, do we need to learn Java before starting JavaScript, or just HTML and JavaScript is enough? Yeah, so Java and JavaScript are 2 totally separate things. The only thing they have in common is the word Java. So if you're learning about web development, really all you need is JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Java itself is more of like a back-end language or a language for building desktop apps or different things like that. So if you want to build web apps, for now, you can at least kind of ignore Java. Eventually, you could build back-end APIs with Java, but yeah. Motia is a full-time musician? Loving the theme? Yeah, I am too, but I think it needs some work because the highlighting wasn't working when I was trying to select. Chat reader, coding as a hobby. There we go. Just Web is saying, what are some use cases for reverse a string? I don't know. It's one of those things where the problem itself doesn't seem that useful, but the concepts that we're going to use to actually solve it are actually very useful in solving other types of problems. So I'll save your question and maybe we can talk about it after it's done. Oh, thank you, Amir. Yeah, you can check out, if you search Coding Garden Vanilla MVC on YouTube, you can see what Amir is talking about. That was a fun video. Kevin is asking, where does the test function come from on Code Katas? Yeah, so Code Katas, or Code Wars, has their own built-in testing system behind the scenes. And actually, anyone can submit a problem for other people to solve. And when you're writing tests for it, you use this, test.expect. So this is something that exists on the Code Wars backend. When it runs the test, it actually knows what this thing is. But when I'm running it locally, I don't have that library, so I typically just do a console log. But that is a Code Wars specific test framework. Use the two-pointer approach to reverse the string. I'll save your comment. I don't know if I've ever heard of that. Maybe we can look it up. There we go. Yeah, exorcism over code katas. It limits your bad code. Yes, well, we won't do a stream on Leaflet just yet, but I do have the React and Mapbox video coming up, so look out for that, yeah. Yes, this is a great analogy. Java is to JavaScript as ham is to hamster. The only thing they have in common is the name. And thanks for the follow, Octagon. Let's take a quick stretch, and then we're gonna solve this kata. It's gonna be fun. I feel like I took way too much caffeine this morning, so pardon me if I'm talking way too fast. But here we go. Okay, so we have a string, and we need to reverse it. We're going to solve this with no built-in methods first. The first thing that we're going to do is just we're gonna do it by hand using what's available to us in JavaScript. So what we first need is a place to store the reversed string. So we're going to create a place in JavaScript and in programming that's known as a variable that's going to hold the reversed version of the string. So initially, this is just going to be empty, initialized to the empty string. So it starts off as nothing, and then we're going to gradually build it up. And there are actually multiple ways we can approach this. What we could do is we could look at the string here from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. So we can look at it in reverse. We could take the D, put it into this empty thing, then take the L and then append it. So we're gradually appending in reverse. That's one way to do it. We actually could approach it from left to right, but whenever we append to this ring, we prepend it instead of append it. The first way I'll solve it is by iterating in reverse. So we're going to iterate over the string in reverse. So we're going to start at the end of the string and go to the beginning. So iterate over the string in reverse. And essentially this loop, inside of this loop, we're going to get access to each individual letter. So we're going to say store the current letter in a variable. And then once we have it in a variable, we are going to append it to this reversed string. So append the letter to the reversed string. So we start at the end, we say D, we append it to the string, and then we have L, and then we append it to the string, and then we have R, and then we append it to the string all the way until the end. And that should give us the reverse string, right? And so after all of that iteration, we'll say return the reversed string. Cool. Let's give it a try. So we need a place to store the reverse string initialized to the empty string. So I'm just going to say let reversed equals the empty string, just like that. And I'm using let because we're going to modify it, right? When we're inside of this loop, we're going to be appending characters to it, so it will be modified. Now we need to iterate over the string in reverse. Now this is where things can get tricky, but here's what we'll do. We'll have a for loop, and we need an iteration variable. So we'll say, we'll call it I, but we need to start at the end of the string. So instead of initializing I to 0, like you see in most for loops, we're going to initialize I to be the last index of the string. So we'll say I equals str.length -1. And actually, let's just log that really quick. So if we log str.length -1, that's going to give us 4, because the length of world is 5 characters, -1 gives us 4, and the indices are 0 index. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That indice is going to give us the D. So we're starting at the very end of the string. Okay, so I starts at the end, and then how long should we iterate? We want to keep iterating while I is greater than or equal to 0. Because we're going to be gradually decreasing I till we get to the beginning, which is the 0th index. So while I is greater than or equal to 0, keep on doing what you're doing. And on each iteration, we are going to decrement I. So we'll say I minus minus. So it'll be 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Cool. So that's our reverse loop. And now we can get coding. So inside of this loop, we have the indice that we need of the character that we need. So we're going to create a variable called letter, and that's going to be string at the current index. And if we just log letter, on each iteration, we get D, L, R, O, W, because each time I is getting smaller and smaller. So we're gradually getting each letter as we go to the beginning. So that's a good sign. And now we need to append the letter to the reverse string. So we can say reversed plus equals letter. And essentially that's going to take each letter and then add it on here. So it will add D, and then it will add L, and then it will add R, etc. until we get to the end. And then after all of that, we should be able to return reversed. Awesome. And it works. So we get back what we expected. If we compare them, they are equal. So this is our reverse string function. But like I mentioned, there are a lot of different ways to do this. One thing I'll show really quick before I catch up on the chat is instead of going in reverse, we could actually go forward, but instead of appending to reverse, we could actually prepend. So let's do that. So I'm gonna take this code, copy paste it, and we'll get rid of all these comments. And instead of going in reverse, we're going to go forward. So we're going to start I at 0. So it's going to start at the W. We're going to go while I is less than or is less than string.length. So we're going to go from 0 all the way up to 4. And we're going to say I plus plus. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. Okay, so now we're going up. And so this right here is the line that needs to change. Instead of append, we need to prepend. And so right now it's just returning the same world, because we're just appending it to reversed, and we're basically just creating a string of exactly the same length. So what we could do is say reversed equals letter plus reverse. So essentially we're prepending the letter to reversed so that on each iteration, we're actually putting the character at the beginning. So we've basically reversed it at this point. So this also works. And we can see that we get back that and that. Wonderful. These are just two different ways to approach it. You either go in reverse or you go forward. The one thing that changed is how we're actually appending it to the reverse string. So that's great. And then I see a suggestion from Emphy. Why not split, reverse, and join? It's a nice one-liner. So I mentioned this earlier, but as a new programmer, if you just see functions like this, it can be hard to comprehend or even think about like what's happening under the hood when I call those functions. And so ideally, you should be able to write this code with a for loop without those built-in functions. That's what I think. As a new programmer, you should be able to do this. But we absolutely can use some methods like that. So let's try it. So we have a function called solution that takes in the string. And then there are lots of built-in methods in JavaScript. So, and really we can do this all on one line. So string is the string, and there is a built-in method in JavaScript called split, which will split it into an array of characters. So we can see right now it's just returning an array with all of the characters from the string. Awesome. And then on the array, there is a method called reverse. And so that's built into arrays. Reverse is not built into strings, which is why we first need to turn it into an array, and then we can reverse it. And that gives us a reversed array, but that's not a string, right? And so the last thing we need to do is to bring it all back together into a string. So we can use the join method, which is built into arrays, and that, and we'll join it on the empty string, and that gets what we were going at, right? But like I said, as a new programmer, you should know how to solve it with a for loop, not using just built-in methods. And then the other thing is like, so this is step one, right? Convert it to an array, reverse it, join it. You could also get trickier, and I saw a suggestion for like reduce right or reduce or some sort of like recursive function. Yeah, we could get weird with this, right? We could let's try to do it with a reduce. So I have a string, and so this solution where we did the prepend, this is actually a perfect candidate for turning this into a reduce. So I'm just going to copy and paste this code right here. And the first thing we do before we turn it into a reduce is we are going to turn it into a for each. So for each is a higher order method that is built into arrays. But we can call it on a string because a string is an array-like thing. So here's what we'll do. We'll say, we'll take an array, we'll take its reduce function, but then we want to call it on this string. Oh, sorry, not reduce. We're going to use for each first. So this is like a weird way of taking a method or a function that works for arrays, but then using it on an array-like object like a string. So we'll call it on the string. We're going to pass it a function, which is going to get access to each letter. And then we can just do this inside of the for each. And then we remove our for loop. And it works. So we call the for each function on the string, we get each letter, and we do the prepend. Awesome. But now that we have this for each, we can actually turn this into a reduce fairly easily as well. So instead of using for each, we'll use reduce. And reduce allows you to take an array and turn it or reduce it into a single value, or into really reduce it, turn it into anything else. So essentially we are reducing this string into a reversed string. So the first step in your reduce is to pass it an initial value. And we'll see here that the initial value should be the empty string, because the reversed string is what we're accumulating up to. So we have our initial value there, and now we should be able to just return this whole thing. But with a reduce, your function gets access to the thing that you're accumulating. And in our case, we just called it reversed. So we'll do that. And now we can just return letter plus reversed, and it works. So this is another way of doing it where we call reduce, and we're getting each individual letter. Yep. And then there was also the suggestion to use reduce write. So with reduce, we have to do the prepend. We have to put the letter at the beginning of the string. But with reduce write, it actually goes in reverse. So we don't have to do that. We can just do an append. So we do the same thing with reduce write, and then we'll return reversed plus letter, and that works too. So there are 1,000,001 different ways to do that. If once I started talking about for each and like calling the prototype methods and stuff, once you were lost, don't worry. You don't have to worry about this stuff down here. If you can understand the for loop, that's a good place to start. Okay, let's catch up on the chat. Leet code versus exorcism. I've never heard of leet code. Let's see. Well, I have heard of it. I just never used it. So I can't really say. I'm sure like all of these coding challenge websites, they're great. Like, I mean, they give you stuff to practice your skills. So whatever works for you. Oh, this water is very cold. Oh, I like it. Boyan is suggesting pop and append. Hello, Oliver. Welcome. And there we go. We have a lot more. We'll cover those. I'm going to catch up on the chat, but then there's 1,000,001 ways to do it. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Pranjal has it. The relationship between Java and JavaScript is just they have the same word in them. How old am I? I'm older than 12 and younger than 40. So there's a coding challenge for you. Infi says, a little off topic. What do you think about the recent efforts to rename browser JavaScript to WebJS, mostly because Oracle owns the JavaScript trademark? I think that's great. Like, I hate the word JavaScript. I don't want Java. Like, for a while, I tried to train myself to just call it JS instead of JavaScript. Yeah, I don't like the word Java. It's confusing. I don't like it. So I think that's cool. Yep. Hello, Brooks. Welcome. No, CJ, it was a bad joke on you reading chat professionally. I see. Because that's kind of what I do on the stream, is just read the chat. That's okay though. We like talking about code and catching up, and we code every now and then. Merchan says, of course, pointer would turn into the ith char in JavaScript. Yep. So a lot of people also aren't aware of the fact that in JavaScript you can actually use bracket notation to get a character out of a string. I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about, Merchan, but it is this. I know for sure that this is something that a lot of people don't know that you can do. A lot of people will turn it into an array first so that they can do this, but you can do it without turning it into an array. Thanks for the follow, KRTBGB. Welcome. And hello, Static, welcome. Yeah, we saved that one. Yes, exactly. I use the comment-driven development. Yeah, so if you were watching from the beginning, typically how I like to solve these is to first describe them with what's called pseudocode. So it's not actual JavaScript code. It's just a very general description of how I would solve this. And this very general description would actually be the same for a lot of different programming languages. You could probably use this same description for Java, C#, C++, like all of the C-style languages. You could solve this problem in a very similar way. Let's take a quick stretch. Cool. But yeah, so I like to try to just talk about the solution in more human terms rather than just like syntactic terms first, and then convert that into an actual solution. Yeah. Oh, there's a course on Code Academy for Golang. That's cool. That's pretty awesome. Hello, Terminal. Welcome. Hello, Percelsior. Yeah, we did the one-liner. Hello, Avi. I'm doing pretty good. I actually got up pretty early, but then my stream setup wasn't working entirely, so it took me like 30 minutes to fix that. But I'm doing good. I've had a lot of caffeine this morning. The prepend method is interesting. Yep. You got it. Hello, Ferruccio. Welcome. Yep, that's my keyboard. Yeah, oh, and this is a good point. So Merchan is saying you loop 3 times instead of only once. So as a beginner, you may not really even want to care about performance. You really just want to get used to solving problems like this. But our very first solution has one loop. We go from the end of the string to the beginning of the string, and we're done. So that's one iteration. This one where we're doing the prepending is also one iteration. This is 3 different iterations. So it takes one iteration to turn the string into an array. It takes one iteration to reverse that array. And then it takes another iteration to turn that array back into a string. Now, right now, our string is super small. Like, it's negligible how much more computation this takes, but it is something to think about. Like, this solution takes 3 iterations, whereas this solution and the other one only take 1 iteration. Our for each solution does 1 iteration, and both of our reduce solutions only take 1 iteration. So that's something to think about. Should have added an efficient reverse. How efficient can you be? I feel like even in low-level, like C programming, you still have to visit every element in the array to reverse it. I guess not, technically not. Maybe at the lower level, you could like flip a switch that says the pointer to the beginning of the array is at the end, or the beginning of the string is at the end, and to find the next index, we actually go in reverse. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Oliver saying recursive one-liner with array unpacking. So I think that's the suggestion that you provided, so we'll take a look at it. The exorcism loco is like Coding Garden? Is it? What? It's a little bit like it. Yeah, they have a little smiley face. That's true. Mine is a little seedling though, so it's a little different. Octagon is saying, are the more complicated ones faster? Nope. So I would say like the reduce, write, for each are most likely about as fast as the for loop. People have done benchmarking and they've actually seen that for each is actually faster than a regular for loop because of the underlying optimizations of JavaScript. So yeah, that's something to think about. Kevin says, explain that for each part one more time, please. Yeah, let's do it. So for each is a higher order method. So the idea with for each is that you can pass a function into it and it will call that function on every element in an array. So the thing is though, string is not an array. One thing we could have done instead of doing this weird call thing is we could have said string dot split, which remember turns it into an array. And then we don't have to do this weird call thing. We can just directly call for each. So this turns the string into an array, and then we can call for each on it, and this should still work in the exact same way. But what you're probably asking about is this weird square bracket call thing. And basically what this does is call is a way of invoking a function and passing in the context. So under the hood, the for each method on arrays has access to this, and this is the array itself. But if we use call, we can actually change the underlying string value. So, we can actually change the underlying this value. So by using call, now when the for each function gets invoked, the string itself is the this of the for each. So when it tries to use under the hood, like bracket notation to get access to a letter, it can do that because that is supportable. It's supported by strings, and strings are iterable. So this allows us to invoke the function with the string as the context, which is a little weird. The other way you might see people do this is with doing like this: array.prototype.foreach.call, and then you pass in the string and the function, like this. This also works the same way, but basically what this does is creates an instance of an array which has the array prototype and can call for each. So these are all different ways to do it. But yeah, hopefully that helped. You can definitely look up call on MDN. Event.call method.call. It's usually grouped in with like call, apply, and bind. They all do very similar things where you can basically change function.prototype.call. Here it is. So the method calls a function with a given this value and the arguments provided individually. So check out call, apply, and bind. These are ways of changing the context of a function. So pop, then pop the value and reverse. Let's try it. Well, I'm gonna leave it as a comment, and we might try to solve it that way. Mattia with the emoji. Just pop until the length is greater than 0 and append to the reverse string. Yeah, that should work. Here we go. This is I think the recursive solution. No. We'll break it down. We'll figure out what that thing is actually doing. Kevin is saying, but isn't the last argument in the for each method this? No. So the last argument, let's see. Where were we? We were right here. The last argument is, well, when you call for each, yeah, you're actually right. But the thing is, we didn't have an array to call it on. So yeah, let's look it up just real quick to see that. We can say array for each. It'll tell us all of the things we can pass into it. And here we go. Yeah, so this value to use as the this argue when executing the callback. So that's a really great point, Kevin. We could also do this. Let's see. We can say, instead of using call, we can just invoke it directly, and then we pass in string as the last parameter because that becomes the this value. So this should work. Let me comment out my other solutions. Oh, that's not good. It's tricky though, but because the array itself has no values in it, the for each is never going to get called, even though we set the this argument. If we did, I mean, technically we could just turn the string into an array, and then we wouldn't need to use the this arg. But yeah, it's tricky because there are no values in the array. But I know that the length of the string is 5. So if I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this would work. It should. No, it doesn't. I don't know, but you're absolutely right that the last value is the this arg. It just won't exactly work in this scenario because we need an array that has all of those values inside of it. Yeah. Oh, and it's only the this for the callback of the function. I see. And so that actually wouldn't work here because in JavaScript, arrow functions cannot be bound. Arrow functions have lexical this. We're getting in the weeds here. We're talking about context and this and stuff like that. But this arrow function, you actually can't bind it. And Oliver makes a good point. That argument would be what it's bound as. So technically that won't work. Thank you. Cool. No, it's fine, Kevin. It's a good question. It's like, because you could, if you're reading the documentation, you see, oh, this is the this arg, but it's the this when executing the callback. So that function itself that you passed into the for each, it would have had that bound as the this instead of the function itself. I don't know, things get tricky. We're going to try to do 3. I'm really only going to be streaming for about maybe 45 minutes or so more. We've finished 1. We've done it like 7 different ways. Just Web is saying they should implement TypeScript in the browser and then rename it to WebJS. No, stop it, Just Web. No TypeScript. TypeScript is okay, but it doesn't belong in the browser. TypeScript is for enterprise developers, large teams. JavaScript, the very simple language that's very forgiving, is meant for the browser, not TypeScript. No love for the spread. Yeah, we can use the spread operator. We can get weird with it. So instead of doing a split like this, we can actually do, and let's comment this one out. So new in ES6, which came out actually a few years ago, there's this thing called the spread operator. So you can take an array and then you can spread some values into it, ... str. And so because string is iterable, this actually allows us to spread the characters of the string into an array, and then we can do that. So it's somewhat similar to split in that it's turning it into an array, but this allows you to spread the values into a new array. So that will do it as well. It's already called ECMAScript, so all is good. Yeah, but Brandon Ike always makes the joke that who's the creator of JavaScript. This sounds like a skin disease, which is kind of like eczema. I actually had eczema as a kid. I don't know. ECMAScript is a weird way. The Oracle's lawyers tried to sue the OpenJS Foundation because they use JS. That's crazy. Yes, my water container is blue, so it's invisible. Oh. It's a good reminder to take a drink of water. That's good water. Oh, it's so good. Okay. No, that's not right. The regex solution? Can we do it with regex? I don't know, but before we do that, let's actually look at this suggestion provided by the very talented Oliver. Okay, let's try it. So we have a function solution that takes in x and then does this. So I'm doing it like this because, yeah, so we return did I do that right? I mean, we can define it as a const. It's not working, Oliver. Am I doing something wrong? Let me comment out all of those solutions. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, so never mind. Sorry. So my previous solutions were interfering. Okay, so this works technically. So what I should be able to do is have a function called solution that takes in x and then returns that. Returns that. Returns the invocation of that with x. I'm trying to figure out how to rewrite this in a non-one-liner way so we can explain it. Let's just see really quick. Okay, so we have solution. Oh, no. Yeah, so solution is equal to x, which is equal to a function. X and solution are both the same. Oh, but that allows you to call it within itself. I see. So with that in mind, we can actually just say solution right here. And then we can comment that out. And then do we need a right there? So solution takes in, let's do this. Okay, so this is equal to a function. So we're gonna have right here a function, and instead of using the arrow syntax, we're gonna create a nice little body here that ultimately returns that. And so this should still work. Okay, we're there. But now we need, so instead of calling it X, we should be able to call it solution. And then we can get around that. So that still works, okay. I see what's happening. Okay, that took me a second. It took me a second to figure out, Oliver. We're gonna take a stretch. Yeah, we've pretty much spent like 30 or 45 minutes talking about reversing a string, but it's not a bad thing. It's gonna help a lot of people. Okay, so, and then now that we have that, we can actually call it this. There we go. So, this is Oliver's one-liner solution written in a somewhat more readable way. And now we have this very interesting syntax here. So this syntax is known as destructuring, and it allows us to take a value and get values out of it. So really just to see what's happening there. And so this is a combination of destructuring and the rest parameters. So I'll say first letter equals, and let's say we have the string equals world. So if I pass in, wait. No, I have to do it like this, sorry. I have to say that equals world. And here's what happens. This is super interesting, but basically this is known as array destructuring, and because a string is an array-like object, we can use it. And what this says is take the thing at the 0th index, which is going to be the letter W, and put it in the variable A. So if we log A, we get W, right? And then this next thing is known as the rest. And what it says is take the rest of the string and put it in a variable called B. So if we do that, we now get an array that has the rest of the values inside of it. And so that's how we get this like recursive solution. So this is very interesting already to begin with. So essentially we pass in the string world, and A becomes the W, and B becomes the rest of it. And so here we say if B has a length, meaning there are characters left, we need to recursively call solution and prepend it with A, right? So basically we're doing this prepending, but we're doing it recursively because we're calling the function again. So when we call the function again, it's going to take the next letter, which is an O, and then the rest of the string, and then do it again. And so if you're totally new to programming, this is super confusing because we have this idea of a recursive call where the function calls itself. But this is awesome. Great solution, Oliver, but also very confusing solution. Awesome. And then there was a suggestion from Boyan to pop the value and then add the popped value onto reverse. We could absolutely do that. We would need to do it with a reverse loop though, and we would need to turn the string into an array because strings don't have pop, but it's a great suggestion. All right, I think we're gonna move on from this because there's a lot of different ways we could approach it, but we did it in quite a few different ways. So we first solved it with a basic reverse for loop. We then showed how you could solve it using a forward for loop, but using prepending instead of appending. We then showed how you could use built-in methods, but we did talk about how these solutions use a single iteration, whereas this uses like 3 iterations. We then showed how you could get weird with it and use the for each on an array on the string itself. And I actually do prefer this one, because it's short enough. But basically what this does is it takes the for each higher order method, which only exists on arrays, and it calls it on the string to do what we were, a very similar thing to what we were doing with the for loop up above. Then the other thing is we could use a reduce. A reduce allows you to take an array and turn it into a single value. In this case, we're taking a string, we're calling the reduce function on it and turning that into a reversed string. with the prepend method. But there's also this thing called reduce write, which does a reduce in reverse, which allows us to do, instead of prepending, we can do appending. And then there's Oliver's solution, which is a recursive solution, which gradually calls itself by just prepending adding the last letter to the end, or prepending the word with the last letter. Whew, that was a lot. All right, let's keep moving. Andre says, wow, 8K, that's my level. Thank you, hell for Mother Russia. I'm glad we could do something that's a little bit more understandable. Yeah, so we started with 8Q. I think we're about to jump into a 7Q. Gonna catch up on the chat, though. Yeah, Mirchan is saying, I don't think there's a way to internally reverse the order, so O of N is the best case. That's my assumption as well. So, like, we're talking about under the hood, when we call reverse, like, could that even be optimized on an array? Don't know. Yep, and thanks for the spread suggestion. Yep. We used spread. Yep, we talked about the last argument. Yeah, call is super interesting. Hello, Kostya, welcome as well. Off topic, have you used Vim? If so, did you like it? We'll save it so we can talk about it. I've answered this before, but I don't really like Vim. I'll say that. I mean, if you like Vim, that's great. you do you, but I don't like it. How would you do TDD with network requests? I heard of mocking in Python, but what would you do in JavaScript? If you're trying to do a test-driven, build an API, there's super test for that, which essentially mocks calling your API. The other thing is if you're doing front-end tests with Axios, I would actually mock Axios itself. So when when you call Axios with a particular URL, your mock function always returns the same data, or data that you're expecting. And that allows you to do your tests without depending on being connected or having the that API being accessible, because you have your mocked function, which always returns the right value. And those are for unit tests, right? You're just testing your front end code to make sure that when it calls that API and the API request was successful, you do the right thing. So that's one way to approach it. For each XY is the same as for each X bind Y. Yes, I think you got it, Oliver. That was the idea of this last argument to the for each binds the function that you pass into the for each. Hello, Dirkerall, welcome. Kevin says, I feel as though you could write a whole dissertation paper on this in the context of JavaScript. Yeah, absolutely. But really, that's what makes JavaScript so powerful. Like, it's so flexible to be able to do things in different ways. But yeah, a big hi from the Russian hackers. Well, welcome to the stream. Thanks for the follow, Inquisitor. I appreciate it. Bagan is saying string at substring at 1 plus string at char at 0. Yeah. So that takes the first character and puts that on the end. And then substring at 1 gets the string without the first character. And then you could recursively do this. Yep. I see. I figured it out. It was really weird to my brain to try and decode what this meant, because this is how Oliver sent the solution, but then we gradually decoded it into this, which makes a little bit more sense if you're familiar with recursion. And this is why you don't ever write code like this, yeah. Split and then sort? Seriously? Yep, Octagon asked the same question that someone asked earlier. When would you ever need to do this? I think we'll talk about that and then we'll move on to the next kata. Oh, see you later, Infi. Hopefully you can work things out. What is the name of the extension in the shape of an inverted L? Oh, Quaka. So Quaka is the thing that is running my code inside of the editor. So you can actually see the output of the console log here. Or I could do something like is equal to, and it returns true. That's known as Quaka.js. Quaka. They have a free version, which is what I use, because when I'm solving these problems, I'm not bringing in any external modules, and so you can do that just fine. But if you want to use this with your code, which requires like your own custom modules and external modules, you do have to buy the paid version. But they do have a trial as well. Okay. Use cases for reverse a string. Let's think about it. Can anyone think of an example where reverse a string is useful? My initial answer to this is I see it as the fundamentals of programming. Excuse me. Got something in my throat. Okay, that's better. But I see this as a beginner programmer, you should be able to solve this with a for loop. That's what I'm thinking, because to mentally take this string and try to think, how do you use programming fundamentals to reverse it? To me, that's kind of that's kind of the point of doing something like this, because it really is programming fundamentals. And then beyond that, if you're new to JavaScript, it's also about like knowing what are some of the built-in methods, because then you can use those at a later time. So that's my initial idea of like, where is this even useful? I think it's useful for new programmers to be able to break down a problem like this and solve it in this way. So there's that. I know that's like kind of like a non-answer because it's not actually useful for actually doing anything, but let's see. Use cases for reverse a string. I think the other answer to that is you can potentially build on top of this function reverse a string. So we now have this function called reverse a string. Actually, I really don't like that it's called solution. Let's rename all of these. Reverse string, like that. There we go. That helps. So you have this function, but there's also a very common interview problem that is test if a string is a palindrome, and a palindrome is the same forwards and backwards. So once you've done that, you can now build off of this and use your reverse string function to check and see, is the input to a function the same as if you reverse it? And if it is, you know that it's a palindrome. So you can kind of build off of it. So I see it as like programming fundamentals, building blocks for solving other problems. Let's see. What do you use string reversal for? Is there a use for reversing a string, or is it completely pointless? Excuse me. Sometimes problems that involve regular expressions can be more easily written by having the input reversed and tackling the problem in a different way. So I think, again, it's more of like a building block to help you with other problems. Yeah, so, and there we go. This person mentions it is palindrome. So it's itself, reverse a string may not be that useful, but again, it's programming fundamentals. It's a building block. It's a good place to start. So yeah, that's my answer to that. Yeah, and on the topic of have I used Vim and do I like it? I have used Vim, and the reason I don't like it is because it requires a lot of configuration and upfront setup. Every Vim user probably has different keyboard shortcuts bound to different things. It takes work to get things like autocomplete and ESLint working, whereas I can use a Visual Studio Code and be up and running almost instantly with just a few extensions installed. And I don't like the idea that Vim itself, you basically have to remember a lot of keyboard shortcuts to be able to use it, whereas with something like VS Code, has a lot of like default keyboard shortcuts and doesn't require like memorizing things. You can really just use the interface, point and click if you need to. So that's my answer to that. Yeah, we'll maybe talk about these. This is more of a code kata string. Thank you, animation computer. An animation to reverse the string to regular. Yeah, I mean, you could animate it. Yeah. English to Arabic. Is that a thing? I'm not familiar. Like, I know that Arabic is a right to left language, but is that actually how you translate something? Hello, Jesus. Welcome. Did I know that you can use the basic Vim keystrokes as a plugin in VS Code? Yeah, I've seen that before. So there's if we just search for Vim key bindings, yeah, Vim emulation for VS Code. Those of you that do like Vim, you can actually use your Vim key shortcuts and configuration inside of VS Code, so that's pretty cool. There's also a plugin for Chrome that allows you to use your Vim keyboard shortcuts inside of the browser for like navigating and clicking on links and stuff like that. Okay. I got about 20 minutes or so we're going to solve one more. We'll do a 7Q. Let's figure out what we're going to solve. Sort the gift code. Are the numbers in order? Gauss needs help. Let's take a quick stretch. Ooh, my hands are cut off. Ah! There we are. And then functional addition. Let's see these. Okay. Sort the gift code. Santa's senior gift organizer elf developed a way to represent up to 26 gifts by assigning a unique alphabetic character to each gift. After each gift was assigned a character, the gift organizer elf then joined the characters to form the gift ordering code. Weird. Okay, so write a function called sort gift code that accepts a string containing up to 26 unique alphabetical characters and returns a string containing the same characters in alphabetical order. I see. So basically you're given a string and then you just need to sort it alphabetically. Very interesting. This one is, are the numbers in order? So you receive an array. This is where they're showing like C# or Java syntax here. But you're given an array and you need to return true if it is sorted, or if they're in ascending order, or false if they are not. Oh, so yeah, so they must be in ascending order. That's an interesting one. Good night, Mahidra. Thanks for tuning in. And this one, Gauss needs some help. Sums of a lot of numbers. This is a longer description. Your task is to help young Carl Frederick to solve this problem as quickly as you can. So here's an example. You have a function that takes in and returns a value. Okay, what do we need to do? Due to another of his misbehaved, the primary school's teacher of the young, Gauss Herr Jegi Butner, to keep the bored and unruly young schoolboy Carl Frederick Gauss busy for a good long time. While he is teaching arithmetic to his mates, assigned him the problem of adding up all the whole numbers from 1 through a given number. I see. This is actually very similar to one I came across earlier, which was sum all the numbers up to a number. So if you sum all the numbers up to 100, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10, all the way up to 100, that's going to give you 50/50. Okay, so that's another interesting one. And then this last one is functional addition. So create a function add. Ooh, this is currying. This will be fun. So, which returns a function that always adds in to any number. Awesome. All right, we're going to do a quick vote, and then we'll try to solve it. Click train. Sort the gift code. There's that. There's checking if the numbers are in order. Are the numbers in order is the name of it. Gauss needs help. This is sum of numbers up to n. It's a really convoluted way of describing that problem. So sum of numbers up to n is that one. And then this one is functional addition. Cool. Please vote now. You are reminded that you cannot change your vote and you cannot spam multiple votes. So choose wisely. Send it multiple times. Vote now. Octagon is saying, only wondered because I saw it in the top right corner of the Code Wars editor. Does it have, oh crap. Does it have Vim mode? Oh, yeah, you can turn on Vim mode. Super interesting. I did not know that. Pablo says it's an arithmetic series. I think that's the sum one, right? If I understood it correctly. Maybe it's not that and we have to solve it a little bit different. Bullion is asking, is the JavaScript array actually a linked list at the lower level? I actually don't know. It depends on the implementation in like what JavaScript engine you're using, but I thought it was more of like a hash map implementation. Like it's implemented more similarly to how objects are implemented than being like an actual array contiguous in memory. But yeah, I don't know the answer to that. We could look it up. Let's look it up while people are voting. JavaScript array underlying implementation. How are JavaScript arrays implemented? Everything in JavaScript is an object. In the case of an array, the length property returns the size of the internal storage area for the index items of the array. Yeah, this person doesn't really provide any evidence, though. Yeah, none of these answers provide, like, what I want to see is in the specification or like a link to the implementation in that given JavaScript engine. How is it actually implemented? So this is a fairly recent article. How do JavaScript arrays work under the hood? JavaScript arrays in V8. Okay, so V8 is the JavaScript engine that's running in Chrome, and it's also the JavaScript engine that powers Node.js. In V8, if your array only contains integers, it'll be backed by a C++ array of integers. Very interesting. So it's interesting to note that the JavaScript engine is doing a lot of optimizations for you. So if you just have an array of numbers, it's basically just an array of numbers like contiguous in memory like you would expect in C++. Yeah. If it contains a mix of integers and floating point values, it'll be backed by an array of doubles. If the array contains only objects or a mixture of numbers and objects, it'll be backed by an array of pointers, which is, I guess that's not necessarily a linked list, because a linked list, each node points to the next node. An array of pointers is just an array of all the different places that the data exists. So it's a little more complicated than that. And I guess basically it depends on the optimization and the type of data that you're storing, which is very interesting. Check that out. All right, how are we looking on the poll? There's 5 votes for sort the gift code and 4 votes for sort sum of numbers up to n. We've only got 14 votes. There are 56 people watching on YouTube. Let's get some more votes. I'm gonna send the link again. Vote. What do you want to see? Cool. What's the use case for checking for a palindrome? I don't know. Maybe you're building an editor that draws a square box around people's palindromes? I don't know. Octagon is saying, do you reckon CAPTCHAs are used to train a neural network? I absolutely think so. Especially like the Google CAPTCHAs, where you're choosing the type of the images. Yeah, you are training a neural network to do image detection, probably for like Google Street View or like Google self-driving cars. Absolutely. While we're waiting on more people to vote, Amir is asking, have you ever tried to build a component library with Vue? I have, and I believe there's a starter kit for it. So like Vue.js component library. There might be a Vue plugin for it. Hello, ATD. Welcome to the stream. Create a Vue.js component library as a module. Let's see if they use any particular package. So they have the Vue CLI. Oh, interesting. They're updating the build command to build to a single JavaScript file versus building like a Vue app. Huh. So you can check out that library. I've built a React component library, and there's literally a tool called Create React Component Library. What did I call it? Garden tools? Tools for your code garden? Yeah, here we go. React Garden tools. So this is a React component library that has things like, there's a state component, which allows you to have state embedded like inline in your JSX. There is an if component, which allows you to do conditional rendering, like similar to a ternary, but with render props instead. There's a fetch component where you can pass it a URL, and then you get different states like loading or error or the actual render. There's a for component, which iterates over data. So I created this component library a while back on stream. Yeah. Let's see. Good morning. All right, what are the results? Oh, 26 votes. Okay, so there are 10 votes for sort the gift codes and 9 for functional addition. We kind of need I wanted to win by at least 2 votes. We need a tiebreaker, and then I have roughly 15 minutes to solve it. While that's happening, let's try to answer this question. Can you explain the difference between module.exports and exports in Node.js? Actually, I don't think exports is even a thing in Node.js. So you might be differentiating between module.exports, which is AMD modules. So the way you do like require and module.exports in Node.js, that's one thing. Then there's common.js where you have things like import or export default, and that is actually different. That's the common.js format. And as far as I know, Node.js doesn't support it directly yet. You can use it, but you do need like a feature flag to do it. Maybe that answers your question. Good morning, Benjamin. Welcome. Alex is saying, what's the calendar app you use in your menu bar? So this whole menu bar and all these settings and stuff like that, they are iStat menus. iStat menus. This. It's super cool. So I get things like my hard drive temperature. I can control the fan speed if I really need to. Different things like that. And it's all in this tool, so you can check that out. Thank you, Octagon. Yeah, I built this this chat manager on stream a while back. I've been slowly making it better. All right, what's the winner? Sort the gift code is the winner. Let's do it. Cool. Can I implement bubble sort in 12 minutes? Probably not. But we can use the built-in sort method. But let's break it down. I think we'll just use the built-in sort method. See how much time we got. Yeah. So Oliver has a clarification for the thing that I was talking about. Exports. Exports in AMD is just defaulted to module.exports, which is just a blank object by default. Yes. So we have a function, sort the gift code. And then we have a function here where we try to sort the stuff. So I'm going to change these to console logs. And then we'll start up Quaka. And right now our function returns undefined. So basically we're given the code and we need to sort the code. I think I'll try to implement a sorting method, but initially we'll do it without one just to show you like what's built in. So really we need to sort the characters in the string. It's kind of like that meme, like step 1, draw a circle. Step 2, draw the rest of the owl. But it's okay. Let's break it down how we would if we were going to use the built-in method. So first we would split the code into an array. We'll call built-in sort method on array, and then join the string together. Join the array together to form a string. Cool. So this should be super easy, and then we have 10 minutes to implement some sort of sorting method. Vote now. Should we do bubble sort, insertion sort? I don't know. Tell me what sorting method I should implement. Okay, so we want to return code. We want to split it, so that turns it into an array. And then we need to sort it, which should sort it into the right order by default. And then we can just join it all back together. And this does it. Cool. So ABCD, K, Q, Q. Yeah, so this works. So basically, we took the code, we turned it into an array, and then we called the sort method. We can look up the sort method on NDN, array sort. And let's take a quick stretch. Bubble sort, BOGO sort. But yeah, if you look at array sort on MDN, this sorting method also takes a comparison function, and you can see an example of that here, where you can do the comparison logic basically that decides, given two values, which one would come first, which one would come second in the sorting order, or are they the same value? So you can do that, but by default, the built-in sorting method uses the character codes of the values, so it just works. So we can try this on Code Wars really quick, and it should just work. So we run our sample tests. Yeah, works great. But yeah, now we want to implement a sorting method. All right, we have 9 minutes. Yeah, so when we're talking about exports, typically module.exports allows you to overwrite the whole thing versus saying like module.exports.thing. Yeah, so exports just overwrites the variable in the local scope. Yeah, cool. Do a full stack app with Vue Express and Node? Potentially, yeah, maybe soon. Okay, we have a vote for Quicksort, bubble sort, BOGO sort, which I'm not going to do. Look up BOGO sort. It's actually really funny because basically you randomize the values in the array, check if it's sorted. If it's not, you do it again, and you do that forever until it's actually sorted. So we would be here for a while. Resort? What is that? Sorting hat? We have 4. I need a tiebreaker. We have 4 different suggestions. We need what sorting method should we use? Should we do? Quicksort. Okay, we have a tiebreaker. So I'm going to look up the Quicksort algorithm. So Quicksort, sometimes called partition sort, is an efficient sorting algorithm serving as a systematic method for placing the elements of a random access file. Yada, yada, yada. We need the pseudocode. Here we go. This is interesting because it basically, this is the recursive solution where it breaks it down into partitioning the array and then doing it over and over again. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put this here. Can I do this in 7 minutes? I don't know. I really don't know. We're going to try, though. There's a really great site. What's it called? Visual Algo? Yeah, visualalgo.net that actually breaks down different sorting methods really well. So you can go here. You can choose your sort method at the top. Just click escape. We'll say, wait, what are we doing? Quicksort. Quicksort. Here we go. If you click go, you'll see it happen. So for each in the unsorted partition, you like pick a random partition value, sort the values according to that partition, and then you now know that those are in sorted order, and you repeat. So let's try to do it. All right. So we need a quicksort function. Quicksort takes in the array, the lower value of like where do you want to start sorting and where do you want to end sorting, so low and high. So that's cool. We're done with that. So we say if low is less than high, then we first do a partition. So we'll say const p equals partition the array, with low and high. And that's going to return a partition. And then we recursively call itself twice. So we say quicksort with the array, low, and the partition value -1. So we're going to go from 0 up to the partition value that we chose. And then we also sort it from p plus 1 up to high. So basically, we are picking a value and then sorting the values around that value. So either it's less than that value or greater than that value. And then once we're done, we know that the partitioned value is sorted. And then we repeat with the 2 partitions on each side, and we break those down further. So it's pretty sweet. So that should do it. Now we just need to implement our partition function. And really we ultimately just return array, because I think we're going to do an in-place sort. So yeah, now we need our partition function. Partition that takes in the array, low and high. So it basically returns the value of where it was partitioned. Okay. That doesn't seem very quick though. It is though. Okay, so our pivot value is like what we're going to pivot around. Right now we're defaulting to the high value. There are different ways of choosing a pivot, but in our case, we're just going to say pivot equals the array at the high index. Cool. And really, low and high need to default to like 0 and the length of the array, but that's fine. So we have our pivot. That's great. We then have our iterator variable that starts at I. So we'll say for let I equal low, while I is less than high. So for j equals low, well, we need 2 iterator variables. Okay, so we'll say let I equal low, and we'll say let j equal low, and it goes up to high. So then we're going to say j plus plus. And then we need to do this. So, and this is looking at the pivot value. So if the array at j is less than our pivot value, then we need to swap them. So we make it so that it becomes lesser than or lower than. Okay. Thank you, Octagon. So yeah, I have I right here. This needs to be j. Cool. Okay, so if it's less than the pivot, we want to swap it. So I'm going to create another function called swap that takes in the array and I and j. So swap I with j, and then I increments. Cool. And then after all of this, we swap the array with I and the high value. Are we not modifying I? Oh, we are. I++. Cool. And then we're going to return I, which is our pivot value. Okay, we're almost there. Now we just need a swap function. Swap takes in the array, and then A and B, and it needs to swap the 2 values. So we need to say temp is going to be array at A, and then we'll say array at A equals array at B, and then array at B equals temp. Is that how we swap? Oh, it's I++. I see. Thanks, Octagon. Yeah, and so if we look back at that pseudocode, it's actually j equals low to high, and we're incrementing I. So while j is less than high. Very, very interesting. Okay, and then we have our swap. Does this work? So we can say low equals low or 0. So it starts off at 0, and then high equals high, So actually I want to do if high is equal to undefined, then high equals array.length minus 1. Else it equals high. No, plus plus under the swap. Oh, I see. So it's more of like a while loop. Yeah, so you only increment I if there was a swap. Okay. Oh, wait, and then do we still need, yeah, we still need J++. Ah, I don't know. Is it gonna work? I'm out of time. I'm out of time. Let's just try logging Quicksort with an array that has 1, 2, and 3. Oh no, I gotta do it in reverse. So we gotta do 3, 2, 1, 5, 99, 100, negative 11. Yeah, we have a sorting algorithm. Yeah, that works. Cool. So now what we can do is, now that we have Quicksort, we can do this. So we can say sort the gift code. We need to return Quicksort with code dot. Well, actually, yeah, done. Ta-da! And I'll comment out my other sort gift code just so we know that it's working. So, oh no, it's not working. We need to turn it into an array. So like code.split, and then we need to join the result all together on an empty string. Yeah, that works. That doesn't work. It works for the first one. I don't know, but I gotta go. That was fun. And this afternoon we'll clean up the Quicksort and try to write it a little bit better. But thanks for the help, Octagon. You saved me in a couple of places. All right. Thanks, Charles, for the sub. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We did it. We did it. Yay, Bob Ross. Okay. I'm late for a meeting that I need to go to, but let's raid a channel. We're probably going to raid Instafluff because he's a wonderful person. Yeah, let's see who's streaming. Is Instafluff streaming? He usually streams on Wednesdays. Yes, Instafluff is streaming. We're raiding Instafluff. Raid Instafluff. So Instafluff and the coding cafe and the coding comfy corner is the nicest place on the internet. Please be as nice as possible. Be the best human that you can be. And we're going to go over there. I think. Wait. Did that work? Okay, we're ready to raid. Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this.